Chapter 1: The Auction. The neon lights of the Black Star Bazaar flickered erratically, casting jagged shadows across the crowded auction hall. Smugglers, mercenaries, and wealthy collectors from a dozen different species gathered under the high, vaulted ceilings, their eyes gleaming with greed as they inspected the latest merchandise. Captain Elias Varro leaned against a rusted support beam, his arms crossed, watching the proceedings with detached amusement. He wasn't here to buy. He was here to steal. Then she was brought out. Chained at the wrists and ankles, the alien woman was unlike any species Elias had seen before. Her skin was a deep, iridescent violet, shimmering faintly under the harsh lights. Delicate silver markings traced her collarbones and the edges of her high cheekbones, resembling constellations. Her large, pupil-less eyes were the color of molten gold, unreadable and haunting. The auctioneer, a greasy Tarkonian with too many teeth, grinned. Lot 47, an Ethera, one of the last of her kind. Obedient, strong, and utterly silent. She hasn't spoken a word since we captured her. Perfect for labor. Or other uses. Laughter rippled through the crowd. Elias's gut twisted. Bidding started fast. A Harkan crime lord raised a clawed hand. A human mining baron countered. The price climbed higher. Elias hadn't planned on this. But something about her, the way she stood unbroken despite the chains, made him act. 10,000 credits, he called out. Silence. Then laughter. The auctioneer sneered. You don't have that kind of money, freelancer. Elias smirked, tapping the stolen ident chip in his pocket. Try me. The Ethera's golden eyes locked onto his. Just for a second. Then the alarms blared. Chapter 2: The Escape. Elias hadn't come alone. His crew, hacked into the auction security, triggered a containment breach warning. In the chaos, he grabbed the Ethera's wrist. Come with me if you want to live, he said, half joking. She didn't resist. They sprinted through the bazaar's back alleys, dodging enforcers. Elias expected her to slow him down, but she moved like liquid shadow, silent and swift. His ship, the Star-Crossed, waited in a derelict dock. As the engines roared to life, Elias turned to her. You got a name. No response. But silent. He sighed. Fine. I'll call you Mira. Her gaze flickered, but she said nothing. Chapter 3: The Silence. Weeks passed. Mira obeyed orders, cleaning, repairing, even assisting in navigation, but never spoke. Elias's crew grew uneasy. Maybe she's broken, muttered Rin, the engineer. Elias disagreed. He'd seen intelligence in her eyes. One night, he found her in the ship's observation deck, staring at the stars. You miss home? He asked. She didn't answer. Frustrated, he ran a hand through his hair. Why won't you talk? Silence. Then on impulse he said, You're beautiful, you know. Was. And then, thank you. Her voice was like wind chimes, soft and melodic. Elias froze. Mira turned to him, golden eyes glowing faintly. Only when called beautiful may an Ethera speak. It is our curse. Chapter 4: The Truth. The story spilled out. The Ethera were a species of empaths, their voices tied to their worth. Long ago, slavers discovered that they could only speak when praised, when someone acknowledged their beauty, their humanity. So they were hunted, broken, sold as silent trophies. Mira had been captive for years. Elias's fists clenched. We'll find your people. She smiled sadly. They are gone. Chapter 5. The Rebellion. But Elias refused to accept that. Using his underworld contacts, he tracked rumors of other Ethera. hidden in mines, pleasure palaces, fighting pits. Myra's eyes burned with something new, hope. One by one they freed them. And with each rescue Mira spoke more. You are kind. You are brave. You are beautiful too. Chapter 6. The Final Fight. The slavers struck back. Trap. Ambush. The star-crossed was crippled, Elias captured. As he dangled in chains, the Harkan crime lord sneered. You'll die for these freaks. Elias grinned. Worth it. Voice. No. Mira stepped forward, unchained, her markings blazing silver. Around her, the freed Ethera hummed, a harmonic resonance building in the air. The slavers clutched their heads, screaming as the sound overwhelmed them. Ethera weren't just empaths. They were weapons. Chapter 7. The New Dawn. With the slavers defeated, the Ethera reclaimed their homeworld. Elias stood beside Mira on a cliff overlooking a violet sea. So what now? He asked. She took his hand. Now we speak. And for the first time in centuries, the Ethera's songs filled the sky. The song of the Ethera. The winds of the Ethera homeworld carried whispers of the past, gentle, mournful, but now laced with something new, hope. Elias stood beside Mira on the cliffs of Velara, watching as the freed Ethera gathered in the valley below. Their silver markings pulsed like distant stars, their voices weaving into a melody that resonated through the air. It was a song of mourning, of remembrance, but also of defiance. Myra's fingers tightened around his. We were never meant to be silent, she said softly. Elias glanced at her. What happens now? Now we rebuild. A new purpose. The Ethera had been scattered across the galaxy, their culture nearly erased. But with the slavers' empire crumbling, survivors emerged from hiding. Some had been laborers, others servants, a few even gladiators. Forced into silence, their voices locked away until someone spoke the words that freed them. Mira became their voice. Elias watched as she stood before her people, speaking in that same chime-like tone he had first heard on his ship. We are not slaves, she declared. We are Ethera, and we will never be silenced again. The crowd erupted in harmonies, a sound so powerful it made the ground tremble. The last promise. That night, Elias found Mira standing beneath the planet's twin moons. You could leave, she said without turning. Your ship is repaired. The galaxy is wide. Elias smirked. And missed the first days of the Ethera rebellion. Not a chance. She finally faced him, golden eyes glowing. Why did you help us? He hesitated. Because someone needed to. You are beautiful, Elias Varro. He laughed. Now you're just saying that to make me blush. But her expression was solemn. No. It is the truth. And for the first time Elias understood words had power. Epilogue. The Whisper and the Storm. Years later, the legend spread across the stars. Of a silent slave who became a queen. Of a human who spoke 3 words and changed a species' fate. And of the Ethera, who no longer waited for permission to speak, but whose voices, once unleashed, could shake the foundations of empires. On the cliffs of Velara, Mira stood with Elias at her side, watching the horizon. They will come for us again, she murmured. Elias grinned, loading his plasma rifle. Let them. And together they waited, not in silence but in song.